He rescued a German Shepherd puppy, realizes too late it's not a dog. It was early winter when Daniel first spotted the animal, a small, trembling figure curled up beside a snow-dusted highway just outside of Boise. He almost missed it in the gray morning haze, but something in its stillness caught his eye. Pulling over, Daniel stepped out into the cold, approaching the bundle of fur cautiously. It looked like a German Shepherd pup at first glance, small, matted, ribs slightly visible, and eyes full of wary confusion. But it didn't growl, didn't back away. It simply looked up at him as though it had been waiting for someone. "Hey there, buddy," Daniel murmured, kneeling. "You alone?" The creature didn't move, but it didn't flinch when he reached out. Carefully, Daniel wrapped it in an old flannel from his back seat, lifting it gently. It was light, and that bothered him. But in that moment, all he could think was, "You don't deserve to die out here." At home, Daniel set up a soft bed in the laundry room. He offered water, a little food, and warmth. He watched over the pup for hours, marveling at its quiet nature. It hardly made a sound, but its eyes followed his every move, calculating but calm. Something in those eyes unnerved him, but also tugged at his heart. He named it Shadow. In the days that followed, Shadow gained strength. He began to move around the house more freely, graceful, quiet, alert. He was incredibly intelligent, picking up on routines and commands far faster than any dog Daniel had known. But there were things, small things, that didn't sit right. The way Shadow watched the trees outside, with almost longing. The way he never barked, only observed. The sheer size of his paws, growing rapidly day by day. Daniel brushed it off. He'd saved this creature. It had no one else. And honestly, neither did he. After losing his wife 2 years earlier, the house had become painfully silent. Shadow filled that void without a word. He followed Daniel everywhere, to the barn, the grocery store parking lot, even the small hiking trails behind the property. At night, he curled up beside the fireplace, eyes glowing like golden embers in the dim light. Then came the night of the storm. Thunder cracked across the hills, and Shadow stood bolt upright, ears high, body tense. Daniel watched from the doorway as the animal pushed open the back door. He still didn't know how, and bolted into the woods. Panicked, Daniel chased after him with only a flashlight and coat, calling into the darkness, "Shadow, come back." He found him nearly an hour later, standing protectively over a young fawn that had gotten tangled in fencing. Shadow didn't growl or snap. He simply looked back at Daniel as if to say, "See, this is who I am." That night, something shifted. Daniel couldn't sleep. He scoured the internet, consulted a local vet, and finally spoke to a wildlife biologist. It was all there, the subtle signs he had ignored. Shadow wasn't a dog. He wasn't even a dog-wolf hybrid. He was a wild wolf, born in the wrong place, abandoned or separated, perhaps orphaned by hunters. Somehow, impossibly, he had trusted a human long enough to be saved. The realization hit Daniel like a punch to the chest. Shadow, the animal who now sat beside him, resting his massive head on his lap, did not belong in this world. Not in four walls, not in suburbs or grocery store parking lots. No matter how strong their bond had grown, a wolf's heart would always yearn for the wild. Daniel knew what he had to do. The next morning, with a heart heavier than any he'd ever known, he called a wildlife sanctuary in Oregon. After explaining everything, they agreed to take Shadow, provided Daniel could bring him in person. It was safer, less dramatic than tranquilizers. The drive was 6 hours long and silent. Shadow sat in the back seat, occasionally resting his head on the center console. Daniel spoke to him softly, like always, told him stories of fishing trips, of winters before grief, of all the little things that had made life bearable again since Shadow came into it. Every mile felt like losing a piece of himself. When they arrived, the sanctuary was quiet, a sprawling, fenced forest bordered by snow-covered hills. A kind woman named Teresa greeted them. She explained how wolves were given space, community, safety. Shadow would have companions, a chance to live as he was meant to. Daniel knelt beside him, struggling to hold back the tears. "I don't know if you understand everything I say," he whispered, running a hand through the thick fur behind Shadow's ears. But you saved me, buddy, when I didn't even know I needed saving. And now I have to return the favor, even if it breaks my heart." Shadow leaned forward, pressing his head gently against Daniel's chest, just for a moment. Then, without a sound, he turned and walked toward the open gate. He never looked back. Weeks passed. Daniel's house was quiet again. Too quiet. The bed was empty. The trails behind his house felt hollow without soft footfalls behind him. Every night, he sat by the fireplace, half expecting to see golden eyes glowing from the shadows. But there was peace too, because love, real love, wasn't about keeping something close. It was about setting it free when that was what it needed. About knowing that what you gave might never return, but it mattered. Daniel started volunteering with animal rescues. He told Shadow's story whenever someone asked. People listened. Some cried. Some left changed. And every now and then, he'd get a letter from the sanctuary. Shadow was thriving. He'd found a mate. He ran with the pack now, his wild heart exactly where it belonged. Daniel smiled each time. Love had come to him in the form of a creature not meant to stay, a silent, watchful being with the soul of a forest and the gentleness of an old friend. And even though the ache remained, Daniel knew some bonds aren't meant to last forever. Some are meant to set you free.